Welcome, Sean. Good to talk to you, sir.
Thanks, Steve. Pleasure to be with you.
All right, before we get to Benghazi and assorted other issues, I do want to talk about the RNC making some major changes to primary rules and talk about what those changes are and you know what the purpose of them were, what you hope the effects will be.
So the major change coming out of the meeting here in Memphis that was passed about an hour and a half ago is that the party is actually going to have a greater say in our Republican primary debates. For too long, it's been the media that's decided when we were going to debate, who was going to be in the debate, what questions we're going to ask, what subjects were going to be covered. And so one of the things that that united the party after last cycle was that the party has an interest in determining when we have debates, how our candidates are questioned, when they're questioned, and trying to get some grassroots conservative voices as part of the process. Because frankly, as we all know, the liberal media does not have the interest of the party at hand. And one of the
so when you say conservative voices, you mean within the media to participate in these debates?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. That you should not just have left-wing liberal moderators asking questions of our candidates and determining that, because they don't have this has nothing to do with some of the folks in the media have tried to portray this as, oh, well, you guys don't want to face tough questions. It has nothing to do with tough questions. Anyone who has not listened to your show or read, Breitbart or the Daily Caller knows that conservative media is a heck of a lot tougher than mainstream media, but they're focused on the issues that matter to conservative and grassroots activists as opposed to the left-wing liberals out there. And so one of the things that we recognize is they have a voice in this process, and we need to get people from Newsmax, people from the Daily Caller, people from the Washington Examiner, people from Breitbart. Those are the kind of folks that need to townhall.com, National Review, that legitimate conservative journalists need to have a voice in questioning the Republican candidates for the nomination.
I couldn't agree more. Now, this applies to which debates exactly are we talking about? So I'm clear in my mind. Presidential debates, or what are we talking about?
Presidential debates. So for the last two cycles, we've had 20 and 23 debates, respectively. And again, some of them on consecutive nights. So you had a debate in Iowa on one day and a debate in New Hampshire. That's not smart. It's not good for the resources of the campaign. It's not good for the use of the campaign time. So what we're going to do is look at a calendar that has roughly 10 or less debates. And if you go back to Reagan's time, there were 6. And then we would look at when they would be, where they would be. So, for example, it would say, okay, there's a CNN or a Fox debate in September 2015. It's going to be in South Carolina, New Hampshire, wherever. And the partner is going to be CNN, Fox, Fox and Washington Examiner or whatever, and set it up so that we have a better idea of allowing our candidates to run their campaign, to not run around have their schedules dictated by the media, and to make sure that we have enough debates, but not too many that makes it a circus. But again, and I think the key element is to have some conservative voices as part of that process.
No, I think that's a wonderful idea on so many levels. I especially like the fewer debates. I think it's been overdone, and conservative voices. My goodness, I think back. I can name specific instances. Of course, the most famous is Candy Crowley. That was, of course, a CNN debate, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, and Gwen Ifill. I mean, we have the same people, Jim Laird, the same ones over and over and over. And why not? I mean, absolutely. I believe this is a conservative country, and why not get conservative voices on there to participate? So, bravo to the RNC. Anything else of significance that we should know about? I'm sure it's all significant that you want to talk about coming out of the meetings.
It better be. The one other thing that I'd say was really important. Well, there's two things. One is that today Chairman Priebus really went after the Democrats and called them out for their hypocrisy on Benghazi. But second, I think the other thing that we really highlighted now is that at the end of the day, our job here at the RNC is to help people win. That's it. At the end of the day, if you're not elected, if you're not governing, then we can't shape the debate. We can't shape policy. And so we always have to remember what we do every day is fundamentally, are we helping our candidates win? And we talked a lot this week and officially launched what we call V365, which is a permanent, year-round, boots-on-the-ground field operation where our staff is not going to be centrally located in Washington, D.C., We now have 90% of our political staff located throughout the country, recruiting volunteer activists that want to help elect people, and that is going to be a change. It's not going to be 72 hours or 72 days. It's going to be 365 days a year. We're out there starting to help our candidates so that as this election cycle moves along, becomes longer and longer in terms of when people make up their minds and when campaigns get decided, that we're able to help candidates from school board to president have the resources that they need to win.
All right, that's great, and let's move on, if we can, to Benghazi and some other issues here. You heard Tom Cotton at the beginning. I believe he's the next senator from the state of Arkansas, a proud Iraqi war veteran, taking to the floor of the House yesterday and saying, pardon my doubting your feigned outrage. Your answer to this, I don't even know what they're referring to when they say that Republicans are trying to raise funds on the backs of Benghazi. But as he went to the floor and so correctly pointed out, I mean, how many years of the Iraq War did the Democrats do that and worse? And he pointed out, Kerry, he didn't say Kerry, but Kerry saying to high school students, if you don't do well in school, you wind up in Iraq. Kerry calling our troops, basically terrorists and terrorizing women and children, and the list goes on and on and on. So talk about this accusation by the Democrats.
Well, I mean, look, this whole issue of them trying to point the fingers at Republicans and saying, you guys are politicizing an issue, and yet every day that goes on, we find something else that they withheld, misled folks about. And I think that there's no question that we need to take this seriously on so many fronts. First being that an ambassador died. Two, did they get the resources they need? It's not just about the death of those 4 brave Americans, but it's also about what led to that. There is a lot that needs to be found, and the problem is that every time that we dig just a little bit further, and Judicial Watch did that for you, and suddenly you find a couple more emails where you say, wait a second, you guys weren't telling the whole truth here. There's more to the story. I think that we, and you now see the Democrats saying, well, we want to boycott the committee and all this stuff. And the fact of the matter is that they are deathly afraid of the truth getting out to the American people. That's my opinion anyway.
No, well, I couldn't agree with you more, and I think they're in full counterattack right now to try to lessen the effect of the hearing in advance by downplaying it and saying it's nothing and it's politicized, etc. Hillary, went on Good Morning America and answered the question on Benghazi, which if my opinion is she probably knew it was coming. And I'll say this to you, and this will be the last time I'll say it, people out there, because I've said it to so many people. I interpreted her answer to be part vast right-wing conspiracy for those who will find it, and part what difference does it make? Because in 30 seconds, she basically said both about these further hearings on Benghazi.
Yeah, you're right. I guess that, it's one of those ones, Steve, that I don't know. Whichever way you look at it, it's not good. In other words, if you just don't care and it's going whatever, who cares? And you saw, not to further this, but you saw Tommy Vitor, the president's old spokesman, on Fox.
You mean the dude?
You're stealing my name, but yeah, seriously, like literally saying, dude, that was 2 years ago. I just find that there's a mentality that says how insensitive that you are like, hey, let's just move on. It's like there's some kind of statute of limitations on how long we're supposed to care about what happened. I find that extremely insensitive, and frankly, I also, am not amazed that the mainstream media kind of just blew it off like, oh, okay, like who cares? He's kind of got a point. I think that the second that we stopped caring about what happened really says a lot about the moral decay of this country, that we sort of said it doesn't matter anymore. When something like that happens, hey, after a few months, forget about it, move on. These men and women who go over and serve our country in embassies and consulates, in the military, in the foreign service, as contractors, are all people that care and love this country. And when we don't care about their safety and their mission, I think that really, is a sad day for this country.
How do you think it helps or hurts if none of the Democrats show up at the committee, or if, as they're talking about, maybe one person shows up on the committee?
Well,
what is the public going to think? What are the voters going to think?
I think in the short term, I think they better. If I were a Democrat, I would hope to God that there's nothing else out there, because the second that the investigation finds something and it says, but not one Democrat was here because they didn't care, that's going to be that's politically speaking, that's a very, very damning thing for them. I think in the short term, that's I think the biggest hurdle is that when this thing picks up further steam and starts to get to the point of it, they've really sort of spoken volumes about their concern for our foreign policy. But I think the other thing, Steve, is I think too many people in politics think very short term. I think the problem is long term. They're also setting themselves up for the fact that the next time they have an issue and Republicans boycott it, we're going to use their example.
Like when they have control of the Senate, hopefully soon, and they change the rules, then what's good for the goose is good for the gander, whatever the heck that means. Hey, Sean, have a great weekend. Thank you, sir.
God bless you. Thanks, Steve.
Take care. Bye. Sean Spicer, ladies and gentlemen, Communications Director of the RNC. We're coming back with the panel.